welcome back to another episode of the Carbon Cardboard Podcast covering Formula One and the Formula One card hobby. I'm your host, Bryan, Q3 Cards, joined as always with my friend Scott from the P1 Castle.
Whew. What's going on?
Wow. It's spicy in Formula One land.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a great weekend, great race. A lot of people are saying the best race we've had in a couple of years. So we'll have to get into that. But yeah, no, it was great. Good weekend.
We are going to talk about that, Scott. We are going to talk about some hits. Obviously, we're going to talk about the cards as well, because that's why we're here, Formula One. Scott, Before we get going and talking about the race, I know we're also going to cover some of the Castle auctions that you're running. Obviously, as we talked about last time out, this race always holds a special place in your heart and the hearts of many, because there is a Castle section of the Baku City circuit.
Very on brand.
Yep, very on brand. So we're going to talk about some of those auctions, and there's a massive eBay auction going on that we will cover when those all wrap up. You've said the name. I can't say it. Leahy. They got to work on that. Like common folk like me that trip over my words. Like I can't even say it. Just come up with something a little bit more simpler.
It's like a Hawaiian thing, right? Because I was saying it like Lehigh, like Lehigh,
like Pennsylvania.
Exactly. But yeah, Leahy sounds way better. Really.
All right. Every time we need to cover that, I'm gonna kick it over to you. You're gonna have to say that. So Sweet Pea and all the guys over there, they do great work. So all right, let's just not even bury the lead. We have Scott now a fifth two-time winner.
That's right.
In the 2024 calendar season.
It's wild. We've had 6 winners, and 5 of them are at least 2-time. It's funny that 4 of them are 2-time, and Max is a 7-time. But yeah, Oscar Piastri joining the ranks. Really good race by him. He just gets it done. When it comes to overtakes, he gets it done. Whether it's like right away at the beginning of the race, turn 1, turn 4, on Lando like he's done in the past, or here, lines Leclerc up on the long Baku straight, and and then just protects his lead the entire race. Beautiful.
I mean, Alex Jake said it on the broadcast. I watched the Formula One TV broadcast. I prefer that over the Sky TV, just because I feel like Alex Jakes is like probably one of the best sports announcers, not even just race announcers, period. I mean, he's so good. And then the analogies that he'll come up with, like on the final laps, he's always got, like, he does his homework. He's got something in the bag every time.
Do you think he picks before the race 6 different drivers that might win, and he's got something in hand, or do you think it's just like, I got it?
You'll have to ask him sometime if you get a chance.
Maybe we'll rip some cards with Alex Jakes.
Ooh,
that
would be spicy.
That'd be fun.
But anyways, that move at the right after turn 1 there, they even said it on the broadcast. Very Daniel Ricciardo-esque, another countryman from down under.
Last of the late breakers.
I mean, maybe we've got a new late breaker here. This race had a lot going for it. And Scott, I know we've talked about this before too. Oftentimes when there's a shaken up grid, those are usually the ones that produce a lot of interesting results. The other ones are changeable track conditions, like at Canada, Silverstone, we've had a couple of those so far this season, but Lando starting back in 15th, Max season long wise out of position. Maybe he's right where he needs to be. We're going to talk about Max as well. I want to pick your brain about that, but yeah, just between Piastri and Leclerc, and I suppose Lando as well. I mean, they are the class of the field right now. It's the the sibling father-son rivalry we didn't know that we were going to have with Leclerc and Piastri at the beginning of the season. Like, they are just giving us some fantastic racing the last 2 races here.
Once the car gets good, the fighting gets real.
George Russell, GR63, sneaking onto the podium like he has done oftentimes. Let's talk about this Carlos Sainz, Checo Perez. I feel like the media blows a lot of these things out of proportion, Scott. There's always got to be, there's always finger pointing both ways. Who's wrong? Who's right?
Yep.
Ultimately, no penalties involved at this point, at least that I've seen. Both drivers really didn't turn their wheel. So at least from what I saw on the onboard. So how would you assign blame, Scott, if you were one of the stewards?
Yeah. So I mean, I've seen both of the onboards at this point. I've seen the F1 TV footage. They did like an in-depth, Karun Chanduk took a look at it. I've seen a bunch of different kind of media reports. And my take on it generally is, like you said, drivers didn't really turn the wheel, but at the same time, both of them having their wheels straight, they were converging, ever so slightly. And Formula One can be a game of centimeters, but ever so slightly, they were converging towards each other. And really what it came down to is they were both trying to maximize on Leclerc's toe from in front, right? Leclerc was in front of both of them because they had kind of, scrapped and everything. And Leclerc came out of that the cleanest and got a good run. And so he's ahead with those two trailing, and they both wanted to get into his toe. And, I think the toe was a little bit closer to Carlos already, right? Towards the wall, and Perez had obviously more room on the left. But if he goes on the left, Carlos just goes into the toe and Perez tucks in behind. And like Perez was trying to fight for that toe. I think maybe 60-40, 55-45, Perez's fault, but like not enough to proportion blame. I think that it's a racing incident. I think at the end, that's what was decided. It blew my mind because, the queen of the castle, my wife, was saying Sergio Perez was going to win the race the other night on my stream. And we were like, okay, yeah, calm down. And Sergio Perez was charging there at the end. Like he was going to get Leclerc. Like if take Sainz out of it, right? Take Sainz out of this race if he doesn't exist. And Perez is just catching up to Leclerc at the end. I think he just does him. Leclerc, his rear tires were gone. I think Perez just gets by, finishes second. I don't think he catches up to Piastri, but maybe. I don't know. I think he finishes second. I think it was a really good race by Perez that unfortunately ends with 0 points. Would have been an amazing weekend for Perez. He out-qualified Max for the first time all season, and then couldn't do it. Couldn't get it over the line. And I don't know. It's tough between those two. Perez has got a seat supposedly with Red Bull, and Sainz is going to Williams next year. So I don't know. At the end of the day, neither of them are really battling for the Drivers' Championship or anything anymore. It's really the constructors between the two of them. Ferrari could have picked up a lot of points. Red Bull gets some in the end. McLaren takes all the constructors' points, and I'm sure we'll talk on that later.
We'll definitely talk about that. Let's swoon over the Oscar-worthy performance here, just because, I feel like Oscar now, 18 months into his Formula One career, is showing why he was so highly touted, why he performed at each level. I have really started to gravitate towards him as my favorite overall driver on the grid, and I didn't know that I would think that. So I've been
all of a sudden he's winning, and now I love it.
You know me. I've been in your breaks for I've been in Oscar spots for
love
quite a while. It does easier to love a winner here, but I just think there's a lot of things going for him at this point. I think he's going to become even more of a fan favorite. Just because personality-wise, he's very calm, cool, collected. He's got a little bit of dry humor, what I know a lot of fans like. On track. I mean, he said afterwards, Scott, that this was one of the most stressful afternoons of his life, trying to stave off Leclerc here. But he just seems unflappable out there. And if you compare, maybe not on track results, because there's other drivers that have come out of the gates really strong too. But I just think that things are definitely looking up for him, and I'm hoping that there's more Grand Prix winners. I know Joel Embiid, the center for the 76ers, proclaimed him as a future world driver champion. I don't know if I'm going to go that far yet, but
I am. Dude, I'm right there with him. I think so. Come on, you think he's going to win one.
Oh, I hope he does. But I mean, you could have said the same thing about Daniel Ricciardo too. So,
that's true. I love to see Joel Embiid, just throwing that out there into the Twitter sphere or X sphere, whatever.
But McLaren now, Scott, with a first and a fourth, officially for the first time since 2014, they said they now have the constructor lead. On screen, we have Piastri and Lando. What about Lando holding up Checo? What a teammate move.
Lando had a phenomenal race. If we want to talk about this, right? He started 15th. Not only did he work his way up, kept his tires in, made smart passes every time, didn't rush anything, just chipped his way up. This is what we used to say about Max when he was starting in, 20th in Spa. And it's just he's picking them off one by one, taking his time. That's what Lando did. Lando was like, I don't know, it's kind of tough in Baku. It's but it's pretty long straight in Baku. And Lando pretty much for the most part waited on the straight every time, got it done, and got himself into position to hold up Sergio Perez, right? Like you said, to keep him away, to stave off, the charge potentially from Perez for the lead. So yeah, really good job by Lando to finish ahead of Max. That's crazy to me. If you came into this race and you're a Lando fan and you have World Driver Championship aspirations, and you have just been, screwed over by a yellow flag, phantom yellow flag, whatever it was, and you're starting in 15th with Max starting up in he was 6th or 7th, of course he's going to finish ahead of you. You're not going to take points off of him. You're not going to take points off the 3-time world champion, Max Verstappen. But in the end, he does. He takes a few points or a couple points off of Max. And I think this may be the drive. If Lando ends up winning the championship, I think this is the drive that I'm going to look back on and say, you know what, the damage mitigation that was done here won him the championship.
It's
unreal.
Very possible. I mean, we've got the driver standings on screen now with Verstappen at 313, Lando 254. Leclerc 235 and Piastri 222. This, Scott, is going to be an extremely crazy end of the season because I don't know, maybe, and we were talking about this earlier today, that maybe Austin is usually a good spot for Red Bull. Yeah. They typically do well in Mexico, but you could have said that about a lot of these other tracks up until recently. Okay. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a second here.
Ooh.
Is it possible
dun, dun,
that Verstappen is so disillusioned with Red Bull at this point that maybe just to stick it to them and make it easier to move on to another team, that he does not end up winning the championship and is looking to make a move potentially as soon as 2026 to say join Adrian Newey in Aston Martin? Okay. Completely I just making this stuff up, and we don't exist so much in that space there, but I I find it really hard to believe. And Scott, you are the Max fan. I mean, it's hard not to root for Max, but it's also very hard to root for Max the way that he's performing on track.
Is it hard not to root for Max?
As a Formula One fan, like I will fully and like I will respect his game. He is good. I just find it really hard to believe that the car fell off as quickly as it did, which is possible that other teams can, but like skill level wise, he's still Max Verstappen. I know we made the analogy earlier, you and I talked today as well, that, well, Lewis Hamilton really fell off the face of the planet too, really quick in 2022. I don't know. It's hard to see because you never see that coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyways, for these drivers, Scott,
right back there now, he's in sixth.
Anyways, I think, Scott, it's a four horse race to the end. I think Piastri has just as much of a claim to this than any of these guys, because if Piastri can rattle off ones and twos through the end of the season, even if Leclerc can rattle off ones and twos through the end of the season, they are going to start making up some significant points on Verstappen and Norris that maybe come Abu Dhabi, maybe there's a chance that more than two drivers have a chance at claiming it. Would that be the craziest thing ever? Tinfoil hat off. Tinfoil hat off.
We've seen it before. So I'm not even going to go. We're not going to go down the road, right? Love it. We'll let those just kind of go into the nether. But the thing I do want to address, right, is so Piastri, right? We're talking about like maybe he has a chance. So sure. Right. I think right now we live in an era where the points they're different, right? If you went back to some of the old points system, like, even Leclerc is probably out of contention at this point, even mathematically. But I think now with how many points are given out at each race, and we've got some sprint races left, right? We have a few. So there's enough points out there that like anything can happen, right? I mean, technically, Mercedes comes good in Singapore and then wins every other race. Hamilton wins. But I think you can draw a line kind of under Piastri where it's like, okay, 184 points, Carlos Sainz away, max 313. That's obviously insurmountable. But Oscar Piastri at 222, he would really need, Red Bull's form to be terrible for the rest of the year and Max to be finishing like 7th, 8th or worse. And Piastri would literally need to win like every race or maybe a couple second places. So I think Piastri is a ways away. Leclerc to me is more believable than Piastri because let's remember, we went into this weekend with McLaren saying, we are now backing Lando Norris. We are going to give Lando Norris our full team like effort, so
in 50-50 situations.
Right. So, but like we're favoring Norris, and then Ferrari, like Leclerc is their only horse they can possibly back. So like they're going to give Leclerc everything. So it's already kind of a little 2 against 1. Max is going to get everything from Red Bull. So like if McLaren kind of dance around in this, like, who is it? I think neither of them end up getting it, but I think Piastri is probably a little too far back because I think Singapore, Ferrari is going to be really good. They're generally good there. I think Leclerc might just come away with the win. I was actually, part of me was hoping for a Leclerc win this weekend, because if he wins this weekend and in Singapore, then he's probably right up there with Lando. And they're both like 40 points away. And then we have a month off. Remember, we have 3 weeks off. We have this other second fall break that they've thrust upon us with their scheduling. So we're going to have all this time to simmer on that.
Crazy. Constructor, we just mentioned it. McLaren took the lead finally from Red Bull. They would have done it anyways, even if Checo didn't bomb out of this race. It's just more, 20 points now instead of, my math's really bad, but it wouldn't have been as much. But yeah, it finally happened. McLaren on top of the table. Couple other things that we have going on here. Ollie Behrman, because I can talk tonight. Points in a Haas. Yeah. He's got points in a Haas, points in a Ferrari, same season. Two
First
races.
time ever. You love it. I mean, first time ever that a driver has come in and for his first 2 races scored points with different constructors. Impressive. Random stat, but very impressive.
And I think more so, I think aided obviously by the crash, because otherwise it wouldn't have happened. But
yeah,
I mean, he was at points like ahead of Hulkenberg during the race, and at one point they did have team orders.
Yeah,
I think this bodes well for his future. Obviously, it's his points going forward are probably going to be slim to none in this car. But if he's thinking about the next move from here, teams are going to remember this stuff for certain.
Yeah, no, I mean, he came in and he's done well right away. This is all you can ask for, right? He did as phenomenal in the Ferrari. He did great here in the Haas, scored points. So great from Behrman.
The other thing we haven't even talked about, Scott Williams this weekend. Wow. Franco Colapinto, double points. Albon 7th. Colapinto gets points in his second race. Really sticking it to Logan Sargent at this point.
The car has also gotten a lot better.
The car has gotten a lot better. I will be very fair. I will agree with you 110% on that. The car has definitely improved.
My boy. No, but impressive from Colapinto, like you said. And even if the crash hadn't happened, they both still would have been in the points. They would have finished 9th and 10th. So, yeah, I mean, how crazy is that he was fighting with Lewis Hamilton? I know he said after the race, like, you know, it's surreal that he's like in a battle with Lewis Hamilton. Like Lewis, you know, clapped him on the back and everything after. I feel like Lewis loves being like the father of Formula One for the new drivers coming in.
I mean, had Albon not pitted and stayed out, there was a legitimate chance that Albon was very close to being the race leader. I mean, he wasn't, you know, P1 in terms of, you know, the actual race standings. He would have had to pit. But I mean, that's just a feather in the cap of Williams to say, like, we almost had a race leading car.
Yeah. So the one thing I will say, so like Albon, I think he had a solid drive. I actually rate Colapinto's drive a little bit better because, I mean, Albon was on like best strategy, right? Like it was the Lando Norris strategy that went from 15th to 4th. And like Albon was lapping with Lando, like pretty consistently. He was only a few tenths off throughout the race. So he did a good job for sure. But like Colapinto on the strategy he was on to finish 8th ahead of Hamilton and Behrman was really impressive. And Alonso actually had randomly an impressive race to finish in 6th. Pretty crazy. But yeah, Colapinto, super awesome. Really good to see the F2 guys coming in and scoring. And Colapinto, we're going to get his cards next year. So, you know, to tie that into the cardboard portion of it, Colapinto first year cards are going to be in 2024. So now in 2024, we get to be excited for Kimi Antonelli. We get to be excited for Bortoleto, who is leading the Formula 2 championship now in his rookie season after winning Formula 3 last year. And now Colapinto, and, you know, among others. So really cool to see that.
I think just in general, too, this class has seemed a lot more competitive, and there's a lot more hype than there's no disrespect against Teo Porcher and some of the other drivers, you know, Dragovic and some of the other ones coming in. Like, these guys really do seem like there's a future for them, hopefully. And, you know, it all depends. It's the musical chair. You know, whoever's, you know, whenever the music stops, is there a seat left? And that is the cruel reality of Formula One. Thankfully for some of these guys, like, I mean, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, I don't think they're going to be racing till they're 50. You know, there will be some openings.
Don't bet Alonso on that, man.
If he's got Newey there, I know we haven't really talked about that move at all.
Like,
but
I finally have Newey. Stays there for another decade.
Man, but yeah, so we're going to talk about how some of these on-track results are kind of impacting, you know, like I said, some of the feature auctions that you've been running, P1 Castle, Premium Consignment. So let's
race week auction.
Yes. All right. Let's dig into this a little bit.
Sure. So in our Castle Race Week auction, we had two different versions of Lewis Hamilton's 2020 Topps Chrome. If you're not watching, 2020 Topps Chrome purple portrait out of 399, right? So, in 2023, you look at purple portrait, right? It's not extremely significant, but in 2020, I mean, obviously the product being so expensive and it being the first year of Formula One, it's essentially Lewis Hamilton's 2020, his Topps Chrome rookie card, or at least, first appearance for Topps Chrome. So PSA 9 is a great grade. The pop is fairly low. And that sold for $548.88. So basically $550, right around $550. Very strong sale for a PSA 9. And then we had a PSA 10, which is only a pop 23. So extremely rare. And that sold for just over $1,900. So it looks like it's about like in between a 3 to 4x to go from a PSA 9 to a 10. And then I had seen, some PSA 8 sales. Granted, they're not in my auction, so it's not an exact one-to-one match in terms of the data, but I had seen some go for around 250. So that's even down kind of another tier. But yeah, so really strong, especially the 9. I thought the 10 would get at least just over 2,000. I was thinking right around that, 2,000 was kind of what we were aiming for. So just shy of it. But yeah, really, really good sales overall on both of the Hammies. Crazy to see, 2020 portrait, the money these go for is wild. So the PSA 10 was part of premium consignment, but both of them were in the auction. And then, so what do we got up next? We've got, so the super, I wanted to throw the Superfractor Vettel up there. That was a card that I almost wanted to pull that from the auction. So it was a consignment, but I almost wanted to pull it from the auction by myself. But so that one went for $14.25. Really strong sale for a Vettel 2021. Right? It's a non-2020 Vettel Superfractor 101. Smiling Seb with the shades. And then the Max 2022 Topps Dynasty, which is, driver number 1 out of 10. I don't know how significant that really is, but the SO patch, really cool patch on that one. It's not, the Red Bull logo or Max's nameplate or flag or anything, but it's up there with a pretty cool patch. That one finished at $22.25. So really, another strong sale. Wanted to make sure, that one went over 2K. We were pretty sure that it would. And then the Lando, which was like kind of the biggest card of the auction, and would have loved for him to not, qualified 17th and be starting 15th, the night that this ended. But hey, those are them's the breaks in racing. But really cool patches here on the 1-of-1 Lando 2023 Dynasty. That sold for $3,051, so just over $3,000. So extremely happy with that sale. Really strong sale for Lando, 2023 Dynasty. You were seeing out of 10 Landos going for like 400 before this. So I think this is a really good sale. And shows that Lando's market is definitely growing, even on a poor qualifying result, to still pull in over $3,000 was really impressive on this one. I think if he can continue to chip away at Max, and it looks like he's got a chance, I think his market's really going to pick up towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I was actually eyeing this card as well. I think I told you right as it went live. I was like, I think this is like a 3K card. With the Android, Android double logo, the Lando 4 auto. Man, Lando is actually killing me lately with the different variations of his auto going on, because I have a Lando 2020 silver refractor auto that I sent in to PSA right now, and I'm kind of going back and forth with them, because even though I didn't authenticate or grade the auto, I don't know that they're going to grade it, and because it's one of the ones where he's more, it's one of the autos where it's more condensed, and he's kind of like, it doesn't look like this. It's a pack pull car. It's Lando's auto, but
that's ridiculous. Like, come on, that's silly. Seriously, because like drivers and athletes in general change their auto usually from the first time, right? Like the 2020 product was the first time he ever signed those little stickers for cards. And that was his auto back then. It was this weird kind of thing. And it's evolved into what I think is one of the best autos.
I
Now,
love Lando's
Lando
auto.
with the 4. And I'm really happy that he started doing this auto in 2022, because when I went to Zandvoort, he signed my brake mat with that same auto and the 4. So I love this auto, and adding in the 4 is a nice touch that he doesn't always do. So it makes the ones that he does, I think a little bit better. But yeah, it's a top sticker. It's top certified. What are they talking about?
I'm going to bat for the person whose card this is. So
get it together, PSA. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing about PSA 2, while I get on my soapbox, I guess they just updated their terms and conditions again.
Oh boy.
And usually, if you get an upcharge, they're required to send you an email just to say, we're basically upcharging this like up $10 million more than you thought it was going to be, just by our arbitrary card values that we look at comps. Well, now if the total increase of the order is less than $500, they're allowed to just automatically do it without checking with you at all.
Jeez. So now we're going to see upcharges all over the place. The grade inflation incoming. They're going to grade everything up to upcharge you, but they're going to make sure they stay just under that 500, so you don't know about it.
Yeah, it's possible. There's some at one point I'll give away some of my trade secrets and stuff like that.
Ooh.
Some of them, not all of them.
The 4th card, and then you switch between. Carry the 4.
Yeah. But anyway, so the way I submit cards, I get those emails a lot. The way I submit cards, but there's a strategy, strategery, as SNL has said in the past. So.
Yeah, a little George Washington.
All right, a couple hits. So, like I said, this will be a little bit of a shorter episode. Some recent Castle pulls.
Yeah, so we ran a 2023. This was I think 3-caser, where we ended up having, I think, 15 F1 autos, including a couple reserve drivers and principals. And this was one of them. Charles Leclerc Gold Wave auto. Man, I tell you, the gold, I think I prefer the wave on like if you were to tell me, you show me this card, Charles Leclerc 2023 Gold Wave auto versus the gold auto, I'm going to take the gold wave. I like the textured look. I think it looks better. I think in 2020 I would maybe change my answer. I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know if I would change my answer. I don't know. I like the way it looks with the auto. I think on just like a true portrait, maybe I'd prefer, non-wave, but yeah, it just looks so good. But yeah, hit this one for F1 collects, my boy. So that was nice. He's a nice Leclerc fan. Loves Leclerc. He does love Lando. He loves everybody. Mike, he loves everybody. So, but happy to hit him a Leclerc Gold Wave auto.
And while we're talking autos here, Leclerc's auto is always streaky.
Last part of it. It's the last part.
If somebody ever had the chance to talk to him in person and, talk autos or something like that, and gave him a little hint just to help him improve it going forward, that would be something else.
He just always picks up the pen, I feel like he just like the pen lifts up a little bit always at the end. So
just like he's lifting over a corner.
If we talk to him, we'll tell him come on.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever get the chance to talk to him, I mean that would be something that I would wanna mention
for sure.
Lando Norris.
Ooh. So this one this actually came from some 2020 Percy's a little bit back that I hadn't posted. Roman, my man Roman Sharf, F1_Roman. Now make sure you follow it. Lando Norris 2020 variation. Man, this is so clean. Like the card's just it's so beautiful. I love the 2020 IVs. So he hit this and he hit the next one. He hit the next one, which was a beautiful orange, true orange Ferrari logo. Man, the logos go so hard. I feel like it really is like the 2020 god, because they're huge, right? Compared to like the constructors crest ones, which are still nice and different, but like they're huge. And then the full card color, just God, it looks so good. Yeah, so hit this one as well.
And
Super,
I mean,
super
and
big.
Roman's a Lewis Hamilton guy, so I mean, this is like foreboding to his next team here with with the Ferrari
Yeah,
logo.
yeah, but and you don't see this often. You actually really do not see this often in Formula One. Roman is a Mercedes guy. Roman is a Mercedes guy more than a Hammy guy. He likes Hammy, but he actually likes Mercedes more. So he said he's going to be rooting for Russell and Kimi Antonelli next year. Like he'll want to see Hammy do well, but if they go head to head, he's rooting for Mercedes, and I respect that because you just don't see that often, right? In most other sports, it's like, oh, well, I'm from New York, I'm from California, I root for those teams. But in Formula One, Ferrari is usually the only team you see people that are like, oh, I'm for Ferrari. I don't care who drives for them. We are Ferrari fans. But yeah, really cool one there. Yeah, so I think that's it for the hits, right?
That is it
So
for the hits.
short through the hits. In terms of what's going on for the next week, so we just ran some singles tonight because this is out on Monday. So Sunday night we ran some singles. Did you end up picking up? I know you were in on a couple. I think you won. Yeah, I think you won a couple. You picked up a
Oscar Orange Car 42.
couple. Oh, yep.
I've been looking for one of those, so thank you for the opportunity. I missed out on quite a bit of other ones. There's quite a bit of action on those auctions.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Always fun. I mean, Sunday doing the singles. I feel like 30 is a good number to like get through, and then you throw in a box, rip a box. Hopefully we can hit something big. So yeah, we did that tonight. No breaks this week, like because I'm going to be in Singapore, right? So on Wednesday morning, I drive to Newark and then fly to Singapore, and I'm bringing a bunch of cards for my man Jeff over there. We're gonna get together. We're going to the race Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the paddock every day. So we're gonna be filming a ton of stuff. We should be able to talk to some drivers. I'm definitely gonna film stuff. I'm gonna try to get as many drivers as I can to open some packs for us there in the paddock. So that should be a lot of fun. And then Jeff and I are doing what has to be the biggest F1 personal break ever, right? It's 3 cases of 2020 Sapphire.
Wow.
16 cases of 2023 Sapphire. And then there's a little Dynasty thrown in, and shout out to Golden Poles because they're throwing in some of the Dynasty. But I think there's one case each of 2023 and 2020 is going to be opened over the course of the week. And so we're doing the majority of this at 1-on-1 live. But we do have a guest breaker. I can't say too much. Can't say anything yet. But we do a guest breaker for some of it. The only stipulation is that we can't do that live. So we are recording that. And then we'll be releasing some of it later. I think everyone will be super pumped to see that. So this is next evolution, right? Logan was involved just by kind of throwing in some stuff. Now we're getting some folks to rip some cards. So we've got a guest breaker for a little bit of probably the Dynasty, maybe some 2020 Sapphire. So we'll see. But regardless, it's going to be absolutely legendary weekend. I'm going to be out there, and then I come back Monday night, get back in super early on Tuesday here. So we're gone for almost a week, 6 days. And I'm going to miss the queen of the castle and little Seb, but she'll be holding it down. And it's going to be wild being on opposite time. I'm going to know what it's like to be Jeff, on the opposite time there. Because, if the race is a night race, so over there, then we're going to be all right, let's go hang out, do whatever. And it's, 11 at night over there. And it's 11 a.m. over here. Because I'm at work, doing whatever. I'm on lunch. And I'm we're going to the club or whatever. So yeah, no, it'll be interesting. But yeah, looking forward to it. And we'll be streaming for sure the big Percy break, and we'll have some more information coming out this week about what you guys should expect.
Awesome. So stay tuned to P1 Castle on Instagram, and I'll be enjoying from afar. It sounds like it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's end this right before the 40-minute mark tonight, my friend.
All right, guys. Well, we had a great week this week, Castle Race Week, but it was awesome in Baku and Azerbaijan. Piastri on top of the world. Leclerc, Lando, they're all nipping at Max's heels. But guys, we've got Singapore coming up next week. In the meantime, collect your cardboard, keep it carb.